Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi, joined by Jonathan T-Bone Smith. You hear him daily. 97.1 The Fan, 3 to 6. Common Man and T-Bone, Man and Bone. And obviously, Jonathan, the big talk today. Ross Bjork, an open letter to Buckeye Nation. And the big takeaways. Obviously, NIL and the transfer portal and all that is very much involved with college football and actually all sports. But you've seen it with football and basketball. But it is a whole new landscape that's coming. Basically, in the announcement saying that starting in 2025, Ohio State will now pay its athletes in excess of $20 million for NIL money. They are going to still maintain 36 varsity sports. The NCAA is reducing the number of participants, I guess. Mm-hmm. So Ohio State has over 1,000. That's going to decrease by 150. But they're adding 91 scholarships.
Yes, that's right.
Just as you look at it, and we reached out to Ohio State, they don't want to talk at this point. We've got some questions, but to me, the big takeaway is the university's not going to be paying these guys and ladies.
This is the interesting part to me, because college athletics for a long time has obviously maintained a rule that they do not want to pay the college athletes for what they do through the university, which is very different than what they say about what the coaches can get, right? Coaches obviously get paid all the time. So that's been the delineator a lot of times in the way we look at college sports. That is now changing due to this ruling from, this judgment that came down, which also allows for back pay for athletes who played, I believe it's from 2016 through 2024.
Yes.
They can apply to get a piece of this revenue as well. It was a multi-billion-dollar settlement that happened with the NCAA. So this is a monstrous decision, a massive decision that has implications. And it has some good and some bad and some uncertainty for sure. I think for me, the thing I look at first and foremost is I like to get paid for the jobs I do. I like to get paid for the work I do. You do too. I think that's a good thing for college athletes to have the opportunity to get paid for it. It will change the dynamic a bit, because now we have a system with name, image, and likeness, which has been done through boosters, which has been done through
collectives.
Yeah, collectives, people who enjoy watching the sport. Fans can be involved in that. To my understanding, that will still be a thing, but that will be more on a merit basis, right? That will be something that allows for you, if someone wants to sponsor an athlete because they like how good of a football player they are, they can go give them a deal. This money that we're talking about today from Ohio State would be coming from the revenue that comes in from the sports, from their TV money primarily.
I think that's important too. They said no tax dollars, nothing from the institution. This is money the athletic department will generate.
Yeah, it's from these TV deals, which, I mean, again, you see how you're watching us. We work for a network that puts some of these games on, so obviously there's that interest that we have here. But in reality, we know that network television and the amount of dollars that have come into college sports is astronomical. When I first started covering sports, when you first started covering sports, the dollar amounts were different for what they gave to these teams and to what college sports were. You would have a few games a week on. The conferences had some money that came in from it. That changed in the early 80s. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that rivals only the NFL, basically, has a bigger television package than what college sports do. So it's a very different time we're living in, and that's why there's a lot more money in it.
And we think it's only going to grow. I mean, this year you got a 12-team playoff. We've heard people say, hey, we need to take it to 16. Obviously, the TV deals are what they are now, but going forward, who knows what that money's going to lead to? Who knows? Right now ESPN drives the train on all those games. Who knows when it gets open to bidding, and you got all kinds of networks, following the NFL model that uses everybody. The questions I have is how will this affect the general fan from the standpoint, do they raise ticket prices now? Where does that lead? Do they eventually make these athletes, employees of the university? That's something they always never wanted. Does this lead to unionization of the athletes? I mean, where does all this end? And then, you mentioned the settlement, 2016. Well, what about guys that were here in 2014? What about guys that were, how does it all end? Yeah. And I don't think anyone knows for sure. I think this is a step that they're trying to remedy the situation the best they can. And like I said, we reached out to Ohio State. They don't want to speak right now. I think everyone's just kind of digesting what it is. But, to me, and we debated this earlier, especially if you look at football and basketball, the two big revenue earning sports, for years and years, college presidents said we will never be the farm system for the National Football League.
Right.
Personally, I thought that was a little naive. They've always been the farm system for the National Football League.
Yes.
And I know I debate a lot about this. The NFL's got the sweetest deal in the world. I mean, you look at what Major League Baseball pays for its farm system. The NBA has farm system. What you have to do to play hockey with the juniors programs and all that. And here you have, as you mentioned, the sport in college football that really the only rival they have that's maybe better is the NFL. Other than that, I mean, you look at what it's become, and they take these high school kids, turn them into household names for 3 years, and then the NFL comes to every practice, watches and they take these kids and they don't pay anything for it.
No.
I mean, I don't know where it's all going to lead or how it ends or how you get away. Or you paid 2016 athletes, whatever. Well, what about the 2014 team that won the national title here? What do they get? How many? What are they worth?
And speaking to some of those guys who were on that team, they had the same question: is why did it stop at 2016? It was part of the court ruling, but yeah, it makes you wonder. Well, will there be another lawsuit maybe that will cover times previous to that? I'll give you. I know you know this history, Dom, but for those who don't, the history of this sport when it comes to college football specifically. The term student athlete, which gets thrown around a lot here, right? Because that's been the argument. Student athlete, these are students first. They're not professional athletes. The history of that is entirely interesting to me because that term came about as a legal issue. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, there was a college player who sadly passed away while playing football, got a head injury. He played at a university in Colorado. His wife, he was married, she sued the NCAA over the fact that he basically was killed on the job. Workman's compensation is what she sued for. The NCAA, in response to that lawsuit, said he couldn't have been working. He wasn't working for us. He was a student. And then an athlete second. So his primary job was not athlete, it was student. That term came about as a legal defense to prevent a school from having to pay out, a widow of someone who had passed away. This is where that term started. And ever since then, that has been used kind of as a battering ram by the NCAA. That is why they're so protective of it, to say, no, these are students first, because they don't want to get into employment situations. They don't want to get into contracts and what does this mean. Now that this legal ruling has come down, I think that changes a lot of what goes forward. The NCAA's legal standing that these players are not employees, definitionally they are still not employees of the university, but they are participating in a sport that creates billions of dollars of revenue. Everyone else who participates in it, from the athletic directors to the student trainers to everybody else, gets a paycheck. The only ones that don't are the guys who get on the field. Now they are. Will that open the door eventually for the NCAA or for Congress or someone to say, you know what, you might as well just pay them not just as independent contractors, but as employees with benefits and everything else? It could get to that point. And the thing that I find interesting, Dom, is a lot of coaches want employment. Yeah. They want employment contracts because the one thing you have when you have an employment contract is that little dotted line that says, if you do this, you have to stay here.
You have to stay here.
Right. So as we are right now, it's still, this does not change. This information from Ohio State today, as far as we understand, does not make them employees. They're going to get revenue from the school as independent contractors, much like, I guess, if you worked at as a barista at the OSU Student Union. If you go to the NFL model, the Major League Baseball model, there are contracts that say you must do this and that. And if you want out, there's a buyout, there's a clause, there's something. Will that be the next step is the big question. To your point, the revenues coming in are what fund this. How will that affect the fans too?
Yeah,
how much will fans have to pay for that? These are all questions we have right now.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got more questions than answers, but what we know for sure is they are going to keep 36 varsity sports at Ohio State. That is the plan. They're going to start paying them over $20 million in 2025, and they're going to add 91 scholarships. Other than that, there's a lot of questions. We will be here always to try to break it down and make sense out of it. And be sure and check this young man out 3 to 6 every day. Man and Bone.
There you go.
And 97.1 The Fan. And keep it on 10 TV and 10 TV Plus for all, and 97.1 for all your sports coverage needs. We'll see you later.